It's Blurry Photos.
You caught me unprepared.
Ooh. Why?
Were you supposed to listen right now?
Because it's not on my calendar.
You know what? It's fine. I'm Dave Stecco.
I'm David Flora.
Let's just.
Well, let's talk at you here.
We'll make the best of it.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry. You caught us off guard.
That's too bad. That's my B, you guys.
Yeah.
My B.
Yeah. Fluoride's weird, right?
And that's how you intro a show. Today we're not gonna pull any stops for you guys. This is a huge show all about fluoride.
That's right. Now I don't want you guys to have too good of a view behind the curtain, but when we say we're pulling out all the stops, we mean it. The Mothman episode, heavily edited. Some of the facts that we brought to bear were too hot for publication. We had to redact them to keep your brain stable. Mm-hmm. This one, nothing doing.
Nope.
You're getting the full majesty of conspiracy to your artery.
So fluoride is something that's pretty ubiquitous, but I don't think people even know how much it's out there in the world. So let us tell you how much it's out there in the world.
Basic fluoride information. Mm-hmm. Ostensibly, it is a chemical compound that is good for teeth. It promotes strong tooth enamel, helps reduce incidences of decay or cavities. That is the commonly held belief on the properties of fluoride, and that is why it is so commonly used at the dentist's office.
And in actually injected into the water supply.
Yeah, how about that fact? Most water in the United States is fluoridated.
As Stecco mentioned, it's a compound. It's derived from the element fluorine, which on its own is a poisonous gas. But fluoride in itself is a monovalent ion that it's not in gaseous form. It combines with other elements and
compounds.
It combines with other elements and compounds.
Now, for those of you keeping along at home, that means that it has but one valence electron to give, giving it a ability to form weak covalent bonds.
In this case, having a negative charge. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, fluoride occurs naturally in some water sources already out there in the world, albeit in very small parts per million. The common compounds that are used either in dentist's office or the water supply or in your toothpaste, these are basically silica fluorides, which
they're the most delicious of the fluorides.
Right. They come from hydrofluorosilicic acid and sodium fluorosilicate. But these are basically silicates. I mean, they're combined with silicon and
that stabilizes the fluorine, and then that's how you get it into you.
You also get it from sodium fluorides, which is something that they add to things like rat poison.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, you'll find that rat poison is made up almost entirely of sodium fluoride.
Mm-hmm. Where do you get these things? I mean, are people just sitting in labs being like, I'm going to make 300 pounds of hydrosilicic acid today? No, they're not. These are actually industrial byproducts, and they're not rigorously tested for safety, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, the fundamental belief being, hey, we have the fluoride, you might as well have the nice teeth.
Where do you find it? It is in, like we said, much of the water supply in the United States. You can find it in dental products. They spray it on crops. It's one of the byproducts that it comes from is from making fertilizer. You can get it in air emissions. It can come out in a gaseous form then from air pollution. It's commonly found in many medicines. Teflon pans you can get fluoride from. Processed foods, mechanically deboned chicken, tea.
Where does the fluoride come from in a mechanical chicken as opposed to like a chicken that was deboned by a particularly adept man with a knife?
There's something in the way that it separates the meat from the bones that instills the fluoride into there. I don't know if it comes from the metal. I'm not sure.
Almost a chemically separated chicken. Gross.
But I also found in a lot of tea and flavored drinks, like ye old Gatorade.
Well, that'll get you. Now, you might at this point be wondering, what's with the chemistry lesson? Why are we so obsessed with this? Because there's a unique situation in that the United States government set about this program of fluoridating water supplies. Mm-hmm. And it is an uncommon maneuver for the government to step in and say there is a mandatory medication that we're not going to ask you. We're just putting it in your food.
Yeah.
There are a few other examples of this. The biggest being iodized salt. The middle of the Midwest wasn't getting enough iodine, and people developed thyroid disorders and large goiters. There actually literally was a goiter belt in the U.S. at the turn of the century.
Goiter belt's the name of my new thrash metal band.
Ladies and gentlemen,
goiter belt.
So you do see it even to this day, iodized salt. So there are other precedents for at some point someone saying, "Hey, there's this thing you need, and we're going to put it." And actually, in Europe, fluoride is added to salt, much the way iodine is added to salt in the United States.
Sure enough.
So these things do happen, but the reason why it is on Blurry Photos, the reason why this is found in the same bucket as the Mothman and the Hollow Earth, is because the history and the reasoning is really up for grabs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions, and it's there is a lot of grounds for a discussion of the mysterious merits of it. Is it just a completely normal public health initiative, or are there puppet strings attached to every corner of it?
Right.
So that's why you just got a chemistry lesson, and we apologize for that. We don't ever want to teach you anything. Sometimes we're forced to. And again, I'm very sorry.
He's, of course, speaking for himself. I want to teach you all the time. Bonds, ions, valence electrons.
I'm the one who said weak covalent bond, I might add.
All right. I'm the one who tried to say hydrofluorosilicic acid. I say that like I've got the headphones on. So now you know kind of what it is and where you get it. We mentioned that salt was fluoridated in Europe. Besides the United States, some of the countries that do fluoridate their water supply are the United Kingdom, Ireland, Canada, Australia, and there's a few others. Those are the big ones. And even in those countries, and even in the United States, not every single water supply is fluoridated. Mm-mm. And, in fact, a lot of municipalities are voting to unfluoridate their water, mostly on the grounds that they weren't asked for permission to fluoridate it in the first place, which is weird. Continental Europe doesn't practice water fluoridation anymore. In fact, since 2010... I think about 73 communities here in the United States and around the world have rejected fluoridation of the water. So I think that list keeps growing. What are the benefits? We mentioned the major benefit in reducing cavities and making your teeth all pretty and stuff. Mm-hmm. There are many, I guess, reports and analysis that statistically say it's effective in reducing cavities. They're put out by such wonderful institutions such as the National Institution of Dental Research.
Hey,
you know.
Are these the guys who let us know which of the 4 out of 5 dentists that are doing their job well, and then there's that one who's like Dr. Nick Riviera?
It may be, although that might be the American Dental Association, which I think also, supports fluoridation. It's been lauded by the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, Health Canada, and even the WHO, the World Health Organization. In 2008, there was an analysis of published research that said daily doses of up to 20 milligrams of fluoride a day significantly increased bone mineral density and reduced fracture risk. So those are some pretty good benefits, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll notice that even when you go to the dentist to this very day, here in the year of our Lord 2012, they offer fluoride treatments. Mm-hmm. You can go to the dentist and they will put that in a little mouth cup, and it's awful. It makes you want to choke, but they'll do that. Interesting fact, though, it would seem that fluoride treatment is enough on the bubble about its efficacy that it is actually not covered as part of a regular dental visit.
Wow.
So if you go to your dentist, and I mean, obviously every dental plan is a little bit different, but all the dental plans that I looked into, and I actually did some research on this, I couldn't find a dental plan that covered fluoride treatment.
Wow.
It was always something that fell outside the boundaries of what was considered to be a routine cleaning or a procedure.
Yet, it's important enough to put in everyone's water without their consent.
Exactly.
Huh. So do they consider that cosmetic, like whitening of teeth?
No, it's just simply not listed. I mean, they don't tell you. I mean, it's an insurance company. They're never going to tell you why they do or don't do something. But that very specific treatment is listed because people, it's a common, I guess, thing, a lot of dentists always are offering this thing. And so they're very specific about fluoride treatments and how they are not considered to be a part of a normal regimen of dental health. And so they are not directly covered.
Have you ever had one?
I did when I was younger. I hate them. I hate them.
What happens? What do you do? I haven't had.
It's they get two little foam. It looks like a mouth guard. It's like one for your upper teeth and one for your lower teeth. And they fill them with this. When I last got one done, which I was probably in junior high, they put this flavored goo in there so as to make the whole thing palatable. And you put your teeth in here so you bite down into this tray that's filled with the goo, and then you just lean over a sink and the goo just drips out of your mouth. And you just have to sit like that for like 10 minutes.
Wow.
And it is the most rancid, cloying, because they try to make it like bubblegum flavored or something, which is just a mistake. Just give the kids a chemical flavor and be done with it. But because my water was already fluoridated, my mom was like, no, we're not doing those anymore. And I was pretty happy with it. But yeah, it is something that a lot of dentists still offer. My dentist, I just had my cleaning in August, and she was really clear. She's like, hey, next time you come in, let's get you one of them fluoride treatments.
Wow. New dentist time?
Yeah. No, I think I'll politely decline.
The funny thing about fluoride, works topically. You do not have to ingest it.
Yep.
In fact, it is considered poisonous to ingest. One of the things, if you look up information on fluoride, which you very much should. You should look at all this stuff yourself. There's a ton of information out there. If you look it up, it will make very clear that ingesting fluoride will cause it to accumulate in your body. We'll get to some of the side effects of that in a little bit, but for now, just keep in mind, fluoride is completely topical. You do not have to ingest it. It is not a systematic treatment. So, let's get into...
I hope there was someone listening with a big bottle that was just labeled fluoride, and it was right at their lips, and they... What?
Oh, my goodness. And then they just splash themselves with it.
Yeah. I'm going to go drink some water instead.
I'm going to go eat a TV dinner instead. So, the beginnings of fluoride in the water, fluoridation of everything... This goes back to the late 30s, early 40s, that period of time, and I don't think anybody really cares to pinpoint, where ground zero was for who came up with fluoridation or what happened. But there was a gentleman by the name of Gerald Cox, who was an Aluminum Company of America, Alcoa, sponsored biochemist in 1939, who first suggested that fluoride be added to the water. Now, he got together with a guy by the name of Francis Frere, who was the director of the aluminum laboratory for the Aluminum Company of America, who they basically kind of supported each other's work in a way. They're like, hey, what do you think of taking this waste, this byproduct that we get, from taking aluminum and extracting it from ore and turning it into what we can use? What do you think of, instead of having to pay the fee to dispose of it and rack up, all these costs in terms of lawsuits and things like that, let's just say it's good for people and dump it in the water. Yeah,
isn't it somewhat ironically easier just to manufacture a nationwide need for it than it is to just dump it in the Thames? Right. Suddenly they're in London, by the way.
And Francis Frere was like, you know what? I'm a director of the laboratory, and I say yes. This is great.
Sounds like a job for science.
They all started this campaign to enlist the help of scientists and doctors and all this stuff. Oddly enough, all these guys were coming from the industries that they were working for, including the Mellon Institute, which was the leading defender of asbestos back in the day.
Ooh.
In the asbestos industry. They said, nope, nothing's wrong with asbestos. Keep churning it out.
Yeah, those fireproof asbestos children's masks.
Exactly. Inhale deep, kids. So already we get some strange bedfellows going on here in terms of what fluoride is and what people are promoting it. So then we get to a guy by the name of Harold Hodge, who was the chief toxicologist of the Manhattan Project. Ever heard of it?
Yeah, see, this is where things get really cuckoo.
Yeah. Harold Hodge suddenly begins very aggressively promoting fluoride as being great for people. Now, you may be asking, why did you just get all sexy when you said Manhattan Project? Fluoride is also a byproduct of developing nuclear weapons.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
or a necessary constituent in.
Sure.
Which I'll tell you what, I actually tried to look that up. And first I Googled how to make a nuclear weapon. Then I Googled president, then jihad. Then I Googled how to make an atomic bomb.
And we're going to have to pause right now because I believe there's a Black Hawk helicopter outside.
No, I did Google that, and I couldn't see. This is where I'm not calling bullshit just yet.
Okay.
But this is where the needle starts to move for me, because I read that fluoride was a required chemical component in the manufacture of an atomic bomb, mm-hmm. and I thought, well, where? I thought that uranium was the required component for the manufacture of an atomic bomb, and so every time I looked it up, I literally saw the exact same sentence used, and I realized that all of the sources for that had all pulled from one paper and had either just straight up copied and pasted that portion, or had just changed two words in that sentence. And I couldn't find anything that really just laid out like, oh, well, you start with a bunch of this, and then that converts to this, and you use it for this point. All I found was this self-referential circle beginning and ending with this one paper. So I'm a little dicey on the Manhattan Project part. Mm-hmm. Like I said, not enough to really call it out, but this is where I start squinting as I read, with a skeptical tilt to my mouth.
I kind of take a little bit of comfort in the fact that you weren't able to find out exactly what goes into an atomic bomb.
Yeah, there are some safeguards on the internet
But fair point.
But for the record, it was a completely academic search. I'm doing it right.
Maybe it was the metal casing.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? But anyways, Harold Hodge started trying to put a positive spin on this, and decided that it was healthy for people at no more than 1 part per million. So keep that in mind as we go along here. In 1947, the Atomic Energy Commission released the following statement. I'm quoting. Information which would invite or tend to encourage claims against the Atomic Energy Commission or its contractors. Such portions of articles to be published should be reworded or deleted. End quote. So that was something that some people have dug up in a report that they published or is out there somewhere.
Right.
That in itself, in layman's terms, is like, if anybody's talking about how bad this is, get rid of it.
Right.
So that's kind of sketchy. Then we get to a guy by the name of Dr. Robert Kehoe, who he joined Hodge in defending fluoride for corporations. Now, you may not know of Dr. Kehoe. He may not be a household name, although he may be, depending on how old you are, because he was a huge proponent of lead in gasoline. He said, lead has no side effects. It's great for the car. It makes you better, faster, stronger, smarter. he didn't say all that, but
paint your tongues to protest the unfair treatment of lead.
Yeah. So he and Hodge started defending fluoride, and of course they were being, they were on the payroll for these corporations like Alcoa and stuff. And then we get to our friend, the magnificent bastard Edward Bernays.
Slick Eddie Bernays, not to be associated with the sauce, which is delicious.
Yeah, or hollandaise. Bernays hollandaise sauce.
Ooh.
Edward Bernays was the father of public relations. He was the nephew of Sigmund Freud, and he revolutionized the way marketing and advertising was done. He's the person who put bacon in breakfast and got everyone to say that bacon was healthy, and because it was part of breakfast, it made it healthy instead of, bacon not being healthy, because who wants to think of bacon as being healthy?
Wait a minute. Wait, are you saying that
let's not talk about that.
He relegated, he shackled bacon to just one meal a day. Was there a time in this country where bacon could show up at any meal and everyone just clapped and welcomed it to the table?
I don't know if bacon showed up at other meals or not at all because people thought it was unhealthy. I'm not sure.
Next episode, that's what we're doing. Our next episode is the history of bacon, because we either lived in a dark ages where people could go years without tasting sweet, sweet bacon, or we lived in a golden age where there was bacon at every meal and no one batted an eyelash at it.
Apparently breakfast was getting the short end of the stick, because that's the meal that he said bacon should be a part of. Maybe bacon wasn't selling. We should do an episode. I'm not sure what happened. I just know that he was instrumental in putting bacon in breakfast. And he then entered the fray to propagandize fluoride and saying, 9 out of 10 dentists agree, fluoride's great.
It's so unnecessary. Hey, you know me, I'm the bacon guy. Guess what I'm coming up with now? Fluoride. Done.
He helped it by contacting dental associations and dentists and doctors and scientists all across America. And had them basically just start promoting fluoride. It's the same logic that went into cigarettes are great for you. Mm-hmm. Smoke a pack a day and nothing will happen. We've just had this study where we took 10 people who smoked for 40 years every day, and we found nothing wrong with them. None of their insides were blackened
and withered. Yeah, this is the heyday for this is like the wild, wild west times of advertising.
Yeah.
You put a guy with a butt chin and a good haircut in a lab coat and say, I'm a doctor. And people are like, well, he's a doctor.
That's right. Yeah, you got to trust him. He's a doctor. He knows what he's talking about. That's exactly what they were trying to get away with. Now, they decided to do a little experiment and put fluoride in a couple towns in Michigan. And then test one of the towns that they fluoridated and have a control town where they did not fluoridate the water. And they were going to do that for 15 years and see, what the results were after the 15 years. One of the towns happened to be Grand Rapids, Michigan. So they fluoridated the water there for this 15-year trial. A year later, they fluoridated everything. Including the control town, because they were so successful in propagandizing fluoride as being so great that they were just like, forget this experiment, everybody loves it, let's just keep doing it.
It's easier if we just give it to everybody.
Yeah. So, no experimentation to see if there was any effects. Not that conclusion from that would have been doctored in any way or ignored. Anyway.
You are a cynical son of a bitch, David Flora.
I relish in it. Fast forward to the roaring 80s. We get a young woman by the name of Dr. Phyllis Mullenix.
You might know her as Stevie Nicks. Okay, I made that part up. I just thought that would be cool if she was also Stevie Nicks.
Dr. Stevie Nicks.
Rumors by day, clinical pharmacologist by night.
So Dr. Mullinex was a leading researcher in how chemicals affected animals neurologically. I mean, she was doing stuff at Harvard. She was all over the place, very, sought after, got grants out the wazoo.
Also, probably a lot of picketers outside her lab. Probably not popular with students on campuses.
She was asked to investigate the environmental impacts of substances that were used in dentistry, and she was asked by the Forsyth Dental Research Institute. One of the things they said, here, why don't you, see how this does, is fluoride. And she had no interest in researching it at all, because she was like, fluoride's great. It's in our water. It helps our teeth. It helps our bones.
And also, let's be honest, fluoride on its own as a subject of academic inquiry, very boring.
Very boring. I mean, nobody cares.
Nope.
But she did as she was told. And she found, through extensive testing, that fluoride in doses similar to what children received, in that day and time, caused attention deficit disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, our friends ADD and ADHD. It caused memory trouble, reduction in IQ. It had all these weird bone degenerative side effects and stuff. And especially the air pollution for animals in the day. There were lawsuits like Native Americans and their crops and their livestock were getting killed off because of these metal companies back in the day. They tried to sue for the loss and things like that, and ended up settling out of court because no court could rule that it affected them. It just said, they were like, it affects your livestock. We'll pay you $600,000 for that, and just shut up.
Moving on.
Yeah. After presenting her research and being very excited to do so, being like, you know what, this is horrible. We need to take action on this. She was immediately fired and blacklisted. And that was in 1994. And almost immediately after that, the Forsyth Institute received a $250,000 grant from Colgate, the company that
makes heard of them?
Toothpaste and other fine dental products. And then, get this, her equipment and computers were mysteriously damaged and destroyed by water leakage. Fluoridated water leakage.
Oh, see, I didn't know, and then I knew.
So, to me, that's a real interesting story coming out of this whole.
That is. I think that obviously there is an alarming lack of research, of independent research done on this. In her findings, since the entire thing was scrapped and her data was irrevocably lost, it's no way to know. Mm-hmm. But those are some pretty. I read the same thing, and those are some serious claims about those have severe developmental consequences to kids. Mm. And when I read that, after having gone through the cycle with the fluoride and the nuclear bomb, and please don't judge me for this, but I stopped trusting the internet entirely.
Sure.
So I thought the best way to get a slightly clearer picture on this was just to do my own searches on things. So what I did is I pulled up a map of the U.S. that showed the fluoridation maps, functionally. Which areas have fluoridated water, which areas don't. Mm-hmm. And then I pulled up... At first I tried to get average IQ tests, but they don't have any maps for that. But then I realized what they do have is standardized testing for schools, and all of those scores are made public. So then I pulled up a map of average standardized test scores by state. I found no correlation whatsoever. There are highly fluoridated states that rank at the top of the tests, at the middle of the test, at the bottom of the test. There are some of the least fluoridated states in the union that are at the top of the test, the middle of the test, the bottom of the test. Mm-hmm. Didn't see any kind of matchup for that. I tried to find bone cancer data. I could only find stuff for breast cancer, which also didn't have any real correlation.
Yeah.
So it's tragic when something is as ubiquitous as fluoride is, and one researcher says, "Hey, this is a serious problem." What that should spawn is more research.
Right.
There should be more people researching it.
And like you said, independent research, not scientists that are paid by these industries and corporations to go out and research stuff.
I'm Dr. Rudiger J. Aquafresh III. I'd like to look into this.
The next day, I have found nothing to this. Rudiger J. Aquafresh.
But there should have been more research. There should have been more people looking into this, just on the possibility that it was significant.
Yeah.
Because even one study, 100 things can go weird with it.
Oh, yeah.
There are a lot of ways, especially when you're doing, cognitive testing. I mean, it could just have been honestly just a bad community, weird teachers. I don't, there's a lot of things that
too many variables to go into.
Exactly, and when you just have the one study. Not enough. Now, is it highly suspect that there wasn't a follow-up study? Yes. That is very weird.
Do you think it's weird that how quickly she got canned and them maybe receiving grants and her equipment destroyed and stuff? What do you think of that?
Well, here's a possible. I mean, because it doesn't ever say why. It's possible
why
that
she was fired.
Right. What is it possible that she was doctoring her results? Maybe when they read into it, they said, well, not only is your report very inflammatory, but on just first pass at the manner in which you conducted this research, it's very shoddy.
Yeah.
There's huge holes in it. You didn't isolate for this variable. You didn't keep your controls controlled. You didn't, maybe she did bad research and then came up with a very crazy hair on fire result from that. I mean, there's a lot of things that could have gone either way. And keep in mind, like, every report that I saw of this was on a anti-fluoride conspiracy webpage.
That's true.
And so I don't think it's either way. I think that there's very plausible explanations to either direction. That money from Colgate's dirty money. I'm calling that dirty money.
One way or the other.
But it is there. I mean, I think that there's a plausible explanation in either direction for why she got fired. Maybe she was banging a lab assistant.
Yeah. It could be. I lean towards the more conspiracy shades of this, just in the fact that she was so highly sought after and Harvard educated and just did all good work wherever she went previously. So I see your point with her, maybe the research and being flawed and stuff, but she sounded like she was pretty competent anyway. And then she was denied grants from then on. So I don't know. She's still around, I think. It's not like she's dying in a hole somewhere, I hope.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't, literally bury her, but...
I would like to now talk about what we have found in terms of how bad fluoride supposedly is for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll try to start pretty mundane, factual, and as real as we can get with the evidence and stuff. And then we might slide down into some more conspiracy stuff towards the end of the list. But number one, the focus of fluoride is all on the oral benefits, on the dental stuff that it can do for you. And it doesn't... There's hardly ever any information on pro-fluoride stuff that says what the other side effects are. That in itself, to me, is a little weird. Beyond that...
Yeah, the benefits, vague at best... And again, it's a huge amount of work to put into solving what is honestly a non-existent problem.
Right.
I mean, people, they put iodine in salt, just in salt, a product that you may not even use.
Right.
And people had gigantic, 2 softball-sized goiters hanging off of their necks. Versus something that may be slightly good for your teeth. We're putting it in the national water supply.
Exactly.
And you can't get away from it. That I do find highly suspect.
Yeah. Fluorine and fluoride in itself is not considered to be an essential nutrient. If you deprive the body of fluoride, the body is not going to wither up and die or start having all these weird side effects from not getting fluoride. It's going to be fine. Mm-hmm. So that in itself, fluoride is not essential to the body. And again, like we said, it doesn't have to be ingested. It's a topical thing. Even showering in it or getting it on your skin can absorb it. It doesn't have to be put in your stomach,
Right.
to work. It's like we said before. Bottom line, it's industrial waste. It's a byproduct from the phosphate and aluminum factories, and it saves them money because they don't have to do safety checks. They get to skirt around lawsuits and disposal fees if they just dump it in the water supply.
So here's my question, though. We are not huge aluminum or phosphate producers anymore, but legislation that continues to protect and enforce fluoridation of water continues. Like, as of 2004, they just had a case that they established as law that you can no longer sue a government organization or a city for any damages as a result of fluoride in the water.
Not that you would have gotten far.
I'm sorry, in 2003.
Yeah, not that you would have gotten very far with it, though, because nobody has.
Right. But what I'm interested in is that even the rationale that it was a fiscal decision, and God knows those happen all the time, like a large money powerful lobby can enact all kinds of laws to protect their own interests, but those lobbies don't exist anymore. We are not an aluminum exporter. We're not the phosphate kings of the world. We don't produce like that anymore, and yet this fluoride agenda it continues. So that's kind of weird. Fluoride can cause what's called, suitingly enough, fluorosis. This leads to tooth discoloration, these chalky white patches on your teeth, weakened enamel, and weakened bones. And after 1 part per million, which is what Harold Hodge said is acceptable to put in the water supply, after 1 part per million... Oh, by the way, they've upped that to 4 parts per million now. Oh, sweet.
So, cool. After 1 part per million...
Water 4x more badass.
Exposure to fluoride can reduce IQ. These are studies like what Dr. Mullenix came out, and she's not the only one who has done this. They say it can reduce IQ, it can damage your teeth, can cause arthritis, it can affect the central nervous system, can be potentially fatal. You can get a glucose intolerance, gastrointestinal distress, thyroid disease, bone cancer, I believe we mentioned. It's linked to osteosarcoma. All these bone and teeth problems, in addition to joint and gastrointestinal stuff too. Like, it sounds like it's this one shot kill thing with a slow kill over time,
right? Kind
of deal.
And I mean, again, this program was put in place so long ago that you could even say, hey, they didn't know. Maybe they didn't have a big enough sample. Maybe they just didn't have the diagnostic equipment to do it. But that excuse is gone now because we live in the future.
That's right.
We practically have rocket belts. So why do you think, Mr. Flora, this continues on? Why hasn't the program been reevaluated and mothballed or...
I'll tell you at the end of the list, because
okay,
it's one of the reasons why this may be happening gets down towards the gray end of the rainbow.
Yeah, see, that's where I want to get to. I want to get onto the sleigh ride of crazy.
So, as we have mentioned, this is basically mass medication. Mm-hmm. It is putting something in the water without the public's consent or, in many cases, knowledge. It's trying to do something for the public, something, quote, good, without people even knowing that it's happening for them. That in itself is not cool. You should have a right to know what you are putting into your body, regardless of whether they think it's good for you or not.
Also, you have the right to disregard what you put in your body.
Exactly.
Because fast food's delicious.
Exactly. In that sense, it can't be controlled or tailored to individuals. So they can't say, we're fine because, at 4 parts per million, it's still safe, when they don't know how much people are ingesting this stuff.
And even that statistic of 4 parts per million, there's no actual system that controls the precise amount in water.
Exactly.
It's an approximation.
Right.
It is that 4 parts per million is actually an average over, hundreds of millions of gallons.
Yeah.
So, it could fluctuate wildly, and there's nothing in place to maintain that very precise dosage.
Nothing at all. And
Which is also weird. Let's keep in mind that we're literally discussing the medical dosage in your drinking water.
Yeah.
That is a phrase that should be somewhat alarming, or at least bear more scrutiny.
Well, this leads directly into the next point I want to make. Somebody did come up with the math that 1/4 milligram of fluoride is what is in suggested toothpaste usage. They used to have on there that it was a pea-sized amount, something like that you used to brush with. And they
for
said,
a child, yeah, I think that's
for a child. And they're great measuring sticks for many things anyway. But a quarter milligram is how much you get in that pea-sized amount that you just put on your teeth. And then they have the warning label on there that says, if swallowed, if ingested, call the Poison Control Center for help. This is poisonous to swallow. It's poisonous to ingest. Somebody did the math and said that there's 1/4 milligram of fluoride in every 8 ounces of water. So your glass of water has as much fluoride in it as the toothpaste that you're not supposed to ingest. That's a freaky thing, if true.
So, okay then. So which way does that go? Does that mean that the water's killing us, or that the toothpaste is fine to eat?
At this point,
because I've
both.
been looking for a reason.
That bubblegum toothpaste?
To eat me some toothpaste.
And we already mentioned how this was called tobacco science.
Yeah.
You have a doctor on there with the butt chin, smoking that big old Lucky Strike, being like, it's good for you and less filling. Now with tartar control.
Before, during, and after a long run or hike, I enjoy Chesterfields, the athlete cigarette.
Chesterfields. That's exactly it.
It opens up your lungioles, which are the small little lungs inside your bigger lungs.
Now go away, kid. You bother me. We also mentioned this, rat poison made of sodium fluoride. Fluoride is also a base compound in Prozac, which is something that a lot of people will argue for and argue against, in the sense that they're like, well, because it's fluoride in there, it makes it dissolve slower and makes the effects last longer, and blah, blah, blah. That's what I've heard for argument for it. This
is the area. This is where I like this part, because this is where things start getting a little squirrely. Because then people in the reading, and I'm sure you've seen this too, claim that fluoride it's in Prozac, it's in other antidepressants. Mm-hmm. It is. There's this belief when you get into the more conspiracy areas.
We're so close.
People point out that fluoride, it's in rat poison. It's in these other things, but keep in mind, chemistry is a fickle mistress. And if you have, say some chlorine, you slap some sodium on there, boom, you're eating buttered popcorn, because that's just salt.
Yeah.
But what if instead of sodium, you just have a bunch of hydrogen laying around? Oh, now you have a gaping hole in the bottom of your mouth because the hydrochloric acid ate through it.
Yeah.
That's still chlorine. Chemistry. So, and I think people take it at its base level, like there's fluoride and it always does the same thing no matter who it shows up to the dance with.
Yeah.
And that's not true.
That's not true
at all. And so I think that there's a willing dumbing down of chemistry when people see that, fluoride's in rat poison and it's over here. Hydrogen's in everything.
Yeah.
Some of it's awesome. Some of it is awful for you. That's not how chemistry works. It really matters who fluoride brings to the ball.
True.
And so I don't like those arguments that are based on the chemical composition of something terrible.
That's a great point. Although a lot of the compounds that fluoride is involved in are not that great for you.
Right.
Not all of them are, gonna give you instant cancer. The journal Nature said, quote, large temporal reductions in tooth decay, which cannot be attributed to fluoridation, have been observed in both unfluoridated and fluoridated areas of at least 8 developed countries, end quote. So, according to their observations and experiments, being fluoridated has no effect on people's teeth than being unfluoridated.
I would be very willing to believe. Keep in mind, in the United States, the time frame that this was happening, that was a huge leap from an agrarian or brutally industrial living to more people living in cities. The rise of the middle class in this time, and it could be a coincidence that this fluoridation came out at the same time that kids go to school and literally have a teacher say, "Brush your teeth."
Yeah.
You know, when
exactly.
The previous generation never did that. That now there are tooth powders available, that the social and cultural incorporation of oral hygiene to a degree that it wasn't before.
Mm-hmm.
And this happens over history. There's a book that I just read recently that is called Clockwork Universe. And it's a history book. And just to kind of illustrate this point, the Palace of Versailles, this gorgeous, ornate, beautiful palace,
mm-hmm.
when its occupant died, and of course I don't remember which king it was, one of the rules they made when the next guy came in was, okay, we have to clean the human feces out of the hallways at least once a week. That was their standard. That was Versailles.
Yeah.
Fucking Versailles. And people are shitting in the hallways. So when you have to consider the incorporation of hygienic practices over history.
Exactly.
And granted, that was in the 1700s. I mean, but it just as
totally
an example,
agree,
that it is entirely possible that it is a coincidence that fluoridation kicked up at the same time. If anything, it just shows that people were concerned about oral hygiene to a degree and on a larger public works program scale than they were previously.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. We also mentioned this earlier. To date, no state, federal, or appellate court has found water fluoridation to be unlawful. They have not supported anybody's lawsuit in terms of that. We mentioned that with the Native Americans and the livestock. Mm-hmm. Those were all settled out of court.
And that keeps precedents from going on the books.
Yeah, exactly. This is another internet gem. There's evidence that shows scientists were paid by industrial and government coalitions to say it was safe at this 1 part per million or 4 parts per million or whatever.
That wouldn't even surprise me. I think that's pretty much bargain basement larceny. You know, like, I'll give you $50,000 to just sign your name at the end of this letter.
Right. Yeah, exactly. There's some studies that say it doubles the lead content in water. Now that one I didn't find much on, but that one we're getting over the rainbow right now.
Yeah.
So.
Take your hands off the wheel. It's time to put them in the air and ride the crazy train.
Now, the water supply actually has hexafluorosilicic acid, which is a silicate, not pharmaceutical fluoride that you get with your dental stuff.
Now, wait a minute, though. I clearly heard the word hex in there, which is another word for a curse. So, are there witches involved at this point? Because now I'm furious.
There could be.
Now they're under... See, this is the war on the Bible I was trying to tell you about.
It all boils down to that.
Fluoridated water is of the devil. They got witches brewing it.
Thanks, old Burma. So... the thought was that way back in the day, Russia and Germany may have fluoridated the water first to promote passivity in prisoners and wartime, things like that.
You're always going to have a hard time selling something with the argument, well, Russia and Germany did it in the middle of the 20th century.
I'll throw in here real quick, the following countries used to fluoridate their water but have stopped. Germany, Sweden, Finland, the Netherlands, Czechoslovakia, the Soviet Union, and Japan, just to name a few. There are more than that, but no longer fluoridated. So there's the thought. Here's the old NWO thought now.
Oh God! Now, okay. So this is where we get. We are in crazy town now, because the second you say the phrase "New World Order" and you're not referring to '90s era wrestling. Actually, you know what? Even if you're referring to 90s era wrestling,
Hollywood,
you're still crazy.
Yeah.
You say New World Order, you are batshit crazy. Judged by me.
Fluoridation of the water is used to pacify the population in order to control them. How's it done? Well, besides the same way it's done in the Prozac and stuff that may or may not hold fluoridated water, fluoride collects in the pineal gland and the hypothalamus. Now, the pineal gland is a little bitty thing in the middle of your brain that a lot of people have no idea what it does. It's commonly known that it controls melatonin production, but I guess a popular belief is that the pineal gland may be the seat of the soul, or the third eye, where you get your astral projection powers from.
There's a chakra in there?
There could be.
I had no idea.
The problem is fluoride calcifies this. It collects and collects and collects in there, and turns it into a little hard rock. And no more astral travel for you, my friend.
Oh, you closed my third eye with drinking water.
Gotcha.
Zing!
So that in and of itself is the list of stuff that can happen with fluoridation, possibly. And a nice little rainbow ride over to Crazy Town. Yeah,
and then that's where you get into, it's the Illuminati's tool to pacify all of mankind. It creates these skeletally disabling diseases so that mankind can't rise up against them. It's a tool to keep people passive. It lowers their IQ, so you get into this idiocracy kind of thing.
Yeah.
It makes people easier to control, and I gotta be honest, just coming off of an election cycle, I'm fairly willing to believe that. The degree to which how an electoral campaign for the leadership of our country is run on both sides unilaterally is an embarrassment.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get into, and it's like so many of these things we discuss. Everyone just jumps on it and co-ops it for their own personal tirade against. It's the Illuminati, it's the Masons,
it's the government,
it's the government, it's a goatman.
It's a goatman.
There's 1,000 things, and they're all.
It's a sandhill crane.
It's the sandhill cranes.
So let's run down really quickly a list of ways, if you are by now concerned and scared out of your wits about fluoride, ways to stop getting fluoride into your system. Stop drinking water.
Yeah, that's it. Fixed it.
Drink filtered or spring or distilled water. Or the old reverse osmosis.
Stop brushing your teeth.
Well, at least don't swallow the toothpaste or get some non-fluoridated toothpaste. I use Tom's of Maine, non-fluoride.
That's really pepperminty. People are really into that.
Yeah. It's good stuff. It definitely tastes different, but I'm not saying that fluoride has anything to do with that. It may just be that they're not using high fructose corn syrup. Sugar and stuff.
I use Colgate because I'm a puppet of the government.
Sure.
And I'm really content being a sheep, and I'll do what they tell me.
Great.
So when we get too close to the truth, I will murder you.
Please still put out the podcast. Don't get your fluoride treatment gel at the dentist.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. Also, and the dentist will not tell you that it costs more. So, you know what? F whether or not fluoride's good for you or not.
Yeah.
It costs money. Don't do it.
It comes down to that bottom line. Eat more fresh food, less processed food. No more mechanically deboned chicken for you.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
But it's my favorite of the canned meats. Also, did you, Mr. Flora, when we set out on this merry trip of podcastery, think that we would ever be going over conspiracy eating tips? How to change your diet?
I thought of it.
You
This leads into get organic stuff. The more organic, the more fresh, the more real. The better chances you have.
Farmers markets.
Yeah, farmers markets would be great. Although you never know what water pesticides and stuff that they're spraying their crops with gets into there. That could also have fluoride.
And there are a lot of things at the grocery store that are very bad for you. Although there is one product that I've always stood by, Dinty Boy beef stew. Canned Dinty beef stew has been a friend of the American family for as long as I can remember. Why, as a child, I used to hurry home from school knowing my mom had a can of Dinty beef stew heating up on the stove for me.
And a lit Chesterfield waiting on the table.
Dinty beef stew. It makes America run, and it nourishes growing bodies.
I wish we got money for that.
Instead of the cease and desist money. Instead of the cease and desist order, we're going to get.
Grape products are bad for fluoride. So watch out for your juice, your raisins, your wine. Make sure you get not from concentrate stuff. Nothing from concentrate.
That's fascinating. I didn't know that. Why grapes?
It's something in the
processing.
No, it's the
pesticides.
The pesticides. Something in the pesticides gets in there, and really it absorbs it really well, or something.
Huh, that's interesting. Now, things that you're still cool with, Welch's grape soda, which has never known what a grape is.
Exactly, but that carbonated water is fluoride.
Yeah. Oh, they get you no matter what.
Reduce your tea intake. Apparently, tea sucks up that fluoride like nothing else.
Oh man, I just got myself onto the habit of drinking tea.
Yeah, I was kind of headed down that path too. But the good news is the younger the tea leaves, the better. And white tea in particular is probably less saturated with fluoride than your other like black tea and stuff.
But I can't go back.
This is mainly I think bottled tea stuff that they sell, instant tea, things like that.
Oh, okay. So as long as I'm dipping my own tea bag, wink, I'm doing all right.
Don't cook with Teflon coated pans. I mean that in itself is something I've heard. I have a ton of Teflon coated pans.
I am a bachelor.
Yeah, exactly.
There is no choice. It has to be Teflon coated. I will coat everything with Teflon. If they told me, if I had to sign a waiver that said you will die 10 years earlier, I'd sign it and give me my pots and pans.
Isn't that awful? When you're frying up your mechanically deboned chicken.
Oh God, stop saying that. Oh, I just keep imagining this just amorphous, greasy blob in the middle of a skillet that's kind of moving what could be construed under its own power.
Don't take Cipro or find a safer alternative in your medicines. This one, it was just out there.
All right.
I don't know what the hell Cipro is, but don't take it.
Yeah.
And then just avoid the fluoridated salt, which shouldn't be a problem over here in the States. But our European friends, and I know you're out there, watch out for your salts.
En garde, mes amis.
Hey, real quick, thank you to those of you who have given us some reviews on iTunes. We've gotten some new ones recently, and they're great. And you guys are awesome. Thank you very much for that.
That is the coolest thing that
can come to pass.
Yeah, no, yeah. I got stuck in my own head thinking, man, that is really awesome.
So, you guys, that's fluoride in a very poisonous nutshell for you.
Yeah. Poisonous nutshells.
I got a couple puns.
Oh, I do. I have puns.
Who's going to kick it off?
You are.
I have a nightclub called the Dance Fluoride.
Oh.
The Dance Fluoride.
Okay.
I didn't say what quality these puns were.
No, there's no such thing as a quality pun. Although Mrs. Leeds IUDs was pretty f***ing great. All right. I got one, and there's no way in heaven or earth you thought you were going to get out of this without me directly referencing you, David Flora.
I didn't.
Flora Date. It's a government-mandated dating service for David Flora, where every woman in a community is required by a state charter to go out on a date with David Flora.
Now, I know what you're thinking. I don't want government coming in telling me who I can date. But let me just say this. You're going to have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
my Flora Date. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good dating service. My next one is a knick-knack store called Harold Hodgepodge.
Where you walk in here and he tells you what you're going to get?
Yeah. This is great. Trust me.
The following products are required for you to live for the next 7 to 10 days. Hold on, I've got a doctor in the back room. He'll tell you the same.
Put that cigarette out. Put that bacon sandwich down.
Okay. I've got one. It's the 2012 Fluoride by Chrysler. It's it's a car that runs on tap water, and also the air conditioner will give you pneumonia.
Man, just cover all those bases.
Yeah. Well, I mean, come on. It's the fluoride. Everything has to say fluoride.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a particularly weak dismount from the from the pun trampoline.
I think that statement is completely redundant. Awesome. So thanks for riding this coaster with us.
The trampoline. Damn it.
What? Go on our site, blurryphotos.org, and poke around there for a bit. It'll lead you straight into the Facebook page, which you can like, and the Twitter account, which you can follow.
Follow it.
And there might even be some pictures on there that are cool. But for now, we're on iTunes. You knew that. Yeah,
and it's great. And please keep reviewing it. If for no other reason than it's iTunes and you can put your opinion on there and people will see it.
People will see it and respect you.
Yeah.
So listening to us gains you respect immediately.
Yeah, see?
With minimal effort.
I'm a doctor. and I approved that. That's the truth.
Great. For this episode of Blurry Photos, I have been David Flora.
And I'm David Stecco. I'm going to have a Chesterfield. That was like the Italian assassin ending. Bye. Fine.